as affordability becomes a challenge in Toronto, how many people can afford an average one bedroom at $2,500? If not, some of them are even up to $2,800.
Yeah.
How many people can afford that?
$2,800 and there's competition.
Right, and no parking.
Look, I get it. The Toronto real estate market is confusing. Whether you're a new or experienced investor or just looking for a home to raise your family in, join us at Broadview Table Talks as we sit around the table with my friends and talk about the real estate and the ever-changing market in Toronto.
All right, welcome to another edition of Broadview Table Talks. Today we are talking about unit sizes and which should you invest in, a larger unit or a smaller unit?
Yeah, so we were just having a discussion about what our clients typically like, and it really depends on a case by case as to what their preferences are when it comes to investing. But there are actually some hard numbers to consider when you're comparing whether you're investing in studio apartments versus larger 2+1s.
Or three bedrooms.
Or three bedrooms, yeah.
2+1 or 4 bedroom or townhouse or freehold or commercial or condo.
Yeah, but for now we're just going to stick with like condo apartments.
How many bedrooms should you invest in?
How many bedrooms?
0 to 3, let's say.
Yeah.
All right, so on one hand, 1 bedrooms are good. Everyone likes the 1+ dens. When everybody's talking about investing, the magic number is the 1+ den with 2 bathrooms, and you can treat the den as a second bedroom.
Right.
That's ideal.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing you can invest in.
Yeah. We know of a couple of people who actually really like 1 bedrooms, hovering around the 500 to 550 square foot size, and that's like their sweet spot.
Okay, so I'm getting involved in a condo development even. So the good thing about that is that we get to plan the unit sizes. And on one hand, the city councilors say that you have to mandate, you have to have certain 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. I don't think that's a rule anymore. I'm not exactly sure yet.
Right.
The architects were saying whatever. So we're trying to squeeze it down to smaller units. So the main goal is how do you get the units to an average price or starting price of 700,000. At the end of the day, it's the end price. It's not really the unit size that determines what the makeup of the building is going to be. Right? It's going to be the end price.
Right.
Because it's all a per square foot basis. Everything's calculated on a price per square foot.
Right.
Whether you're talking to trades, when you're buying on land, while you're building on whatever, like how much can you sell that square footage for?
Right.
Right. So, of course, that leads naturally condos to having smaller unit sizes, unless a developer is doing something special and they truly want to build a larger unit size because of the makeup of its more luxurious building, let's just say.
Yeah, there are a couple of developers that actually do purpose-built larger condo units, especially repurpose old apartment buildings that do that.
With older ones. I'm talking
with
older
older ones, yeah.
Because you can't go back.
Well, I mean, like the new development, but they use the existing building and then they do purposeful, like 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, large floor plan type condominiums.
Right. I mean, that's increasingly rare because the numbers just don't make sense unless you're doing as a passion project or something. You're not using it to make money, which I don't know anybody that is doing that right now.
No, the money's definitely in the smaller units.
Yeah, so you build the smaller units and you have a handful of larger units as well too, right? That's the way to do it. You can't unfortunately combine units like how we used to back in the day when the condo industry was just still new and people were still figuring things out. The reason why you can't do that is because all the plumbing stacks and everything just needs to be like, it has to be pre-planned.
Yeah.
Like you can't just all of a sudden have wiggles in the plumbing stack, right? Because it causes problems in the plumbing.
For sure.
So, okay, the pros of getting a smaller unit. So let's just say let's take it from the perspective if you're a purchaser looking at a potential project, and you have a choice between a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, or studio or 3-bedroom, or the dens in between, right?
Right.
What would you pick and why? Or what are the trade-offs?
Trade-offs. Let's go with that. So with smaller units, you kind of generally expect the turnover to be a lot faster.
For tenants.
Okay. As a landlord, you get to increase the rent to market more frequently.
Well, not rent-controlled buildings, you can do that anytime, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not nice to, because then to pull that on a tenant.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly, as rents are increasing 13 to 20% a year over year.
Yeah.
To give them a 20% increase, so say they're paying $2,500, right? By next year they're paying $2,800. That's a big difference.
It is
for some people.
But that's why I would, personally, my preference would be to wait until the tenant moves out and then
get market rents,
make it back to market where market is.
Right.
So with a smaller unit, I'd be able to do that more frequently instead of just raising rent on the tenant themselves.
Sure.
That would be my preference. What about you?
Well, I mean, there's no preference, but let's argue the devil's advocate of having a 2-bedroom. Actually, no, that's not true. I've always had a preference towards 2 bedrooms.
Right.
The reason why is because tenants can have roommates, right? As affordability becomes a challenge in Toronto, how many people can afford an average 1-bedroom at $2,500? If not, some of them are even up to $2,800.
Yeah.
How many people can afford that?
$2,800 and there's competition.
Right, and no parking.
No parking.
Right? So, like in downtown. So,
no view.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, those ones generally have views, but that's on the higher end of the 1-bedrooms. But I think that having a 2-bedroom gives you more options. So if you're instead of one person paying $2,500, you can have two people paying $3,600.
Yeah.
Which basically is $1,800 per person.
And it gives you more stability.
Gives you more stability, right? So, I had this, as you're seeing now in MLS, you're seeing a lot more rooms for rent, right? So if you see something for $1,200 or $1,000 or $1,600 even, there's a high likelihood that it's a room for rent. So you have to really read the descriptions carefully.
For sure. We see so many of those now.
Well, one of my buildings, same thing happened, right? One of the tenants left and we were getting $3,300 for it, right? So one person was paying 19 because they had the parking spot, and then the other person was 16.
14, yeah.
14 actually. 14. So instead, this time around, I put it on the market because I really like that tenant. I put it at $1,600 for the second bedroom, right? And then obviously we got a lot of people applying for it, and it's just a matter of whoever jived with that current existing tenant.
Yeah.
But instantly, without having a turnover, without having any vacancies, I was able to rent it for now $3,600 instead of $3,300.
Right.
Right. I mean, yes, not rent controlled, so I could have increased any time, but I actually like this tenant.
Yeah.
And, they were actually incented to find another roommate that matched that person's criteria.
That's true.
And able to help with showings. So I didn't have any vacancies.
Right.
Or no vacancies. I still had to pay fees because I had to pay the leasing fee.
Yeah.
Because I'm only representing myself really, so not the tenant. But because of that, we're able to increase the market rent faster without pissing off the current tenant.
Yeah.
So that's why I like 2 bedrooms.
That's a very good way of leveraging it.
Yeah. And, another way of looking at another reason for 2 bedrooms is that I don't like having vacancies. If I'm going to keep it long term, I'd rather have somebody take a little less rent on a monthly basis, but have somebody with longer tenure. So generally it leads to, so I have another 2 bedroom right now where the tenants it's a family. They got a young kid and they're staying there. Right. And the chances of them leaving is going to be pretty low because it's really hard to uproot a family unless you're really outgrowing the space and you really need the space. Generally, they stay longer, I find.
Yeah. So we have clients who can get into 2 bedrooms, but don't. What would you say to them?
Oh, so you're buying 2 places now? 2 1 bedrooms instead of 1 2 bedroom?
Yeah.
A larger 2 bedroom. So I would say to them is that, well, it depends on the mortgage qualification. So if you're buying it out cash, then who cares? It doesn't matter, right? The only difference is that you're paying 2 legal fees now as opposed to 1 legal fee, but that's very minor in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
You're still paying land transfer taxes because it's based on a percentage, right? So it's not really much different. I mean, if anything, the more expensive you get, the lower it gets because it scales down on the price, right? On the land transfer tax rate.
Yeah.
So either way, you're paying it based on the percentage.
Yes.
So there's really no difference. But most people do have leverage. Most people do have a mortgage. And the problem with that is that banks don't like to qualify you for more than 1 mortgage sometimes. Right. Or a certain amount. After 5, depending on the underwriting criteria on the bank, they might have different policies for however many mortgages you can get. So that might be a consideration as well too. If you can get 2 more mortgages, awesome. If
more power to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you plan to grow a portfolio of, let's say, 10 condos and you want to stay with A banks, then maybe that might not be an option for you because you have too many mortgages.
Right.
I have a friend that has I think 27 mortgages, something like that. Right. So now he has to go to B lenders and sometimes even private because he can't just get regular bank financing anymore.
Right.
Right. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's the cost of capital. Like if you look at commercial loans, commercial loans are way higher than what residential mortgages are. Right. So that's not a big concern. So anyway, to answer your question, a long-winded way of saying it is that, yes, I'd rather go for 1 larger 2 bedroom. Yeah. If you're looking to preserve the ability to borrow more, if the number of units does matter to you. Yes. If it doesn't matter to you, 1 bedrooms and smaller are not too bad either because you can get, yes, they cost more per square foot to purchase. Yes. But generally you can get more per square foot for rent. Right. Right. So if you think about
for sure
a studio unit, right? Like how much do those go for normally?
Right now, looking anywhere from $550,000 to $600,000.
Okay, and then to rent them out, what would you get?
Roughly around $2,100.
To $2,100, and generally sizes
350 square feet.
350 square feet. So you divide 2,100 by 350. You're looking at like $5 and something, close to $6 a square foot per month. Yeah, yeah. Versus the regular condo, right? The $2,500 a month rent for 1 bedroom.
Yeah, 1 bedroom around
500 square foot. Yeah, you divide that, it works to the $5 a square foot. Yeah. So you're going to get an extra premium on the rental as well too, even though it costs you more.
Yeah, but once we factor in the vacancies, then you're probably not making that much back over a year or over
because 1 month of vacancy, that's actually a very good point. 1 month of vacancy will basically destroy all the gains you would have gotten. Yeah. Like for the premiums. Right?
Unless you find a long-term tenant who wants to stay in a studio apartment for a very long period of time.
Generally they don't. They don't exist.
Unlikely. Yeah. Right. It's more transient when it comes to smaller units.
And then I guess the other question is affordability, right? So how many people can afford 1.2 million for 1.4 million for a 2-bedroom or whatever it is, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Versus
Like that townhouse that we just saw yesterday.
Yes, exactly. That's 1.5 million.
Yeah, 1.5 million.
For a 3-bedroom. So the other option is getting a studio for 550,000 or 1-bedroom at, call it 700,000. Right. So I know some of those numbers might sound a little crazy to people that are not in Toronto and don't understand the expensive market that we're in.
Yeah. This is what the state of the market currently is, like what we're looking at for 1-bedroom apartments.
Yeah.
Just under $700,000.
Yeah. And looking back in 5 years from now, that's probably going to look and we're going to say, oh, that was cheap, right?
Yeah.
But, who knows, right?
Like when I first started, a 1-bedroom was only, $350,000.
Oh, man. I started when they were like 100,000. 1-bedroom's like, seriously, it was only $200 a foot or something. It was $100 a foot or something. It was really ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, the choice between a larger and a smaller unit, it comes with trade-offs.
Yeah.
For sure. No risk, no reward, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make that jump for, say the values go up by 20% a year. Let's just say it's not going to go on to 20% a year, but say even 5% a year.
Yeah.
Right. 5% of a larger amount is going to be a larger dollar amount.
Larger dollar amount, yeah.
A smaller amount.
And the compounds as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's very situational. I think if you're a purchaser looking to pick between the units and you have the ability, and luckily you have the ability to be able to pick between larger and small units, that's a different story, and that has a little bit of nuance. But generally, most people just trying to get their first investment, or maybe their second or third investment property, they're probably going to go for 1+10. And that's why they're so popular.
Yes. And we can actually talk about restructuring their portfolio as well.
Right.
Where they actually take that equity and then sort of bundle it into larger units instead of holding on to so many small units.
That's a great thing about having real estate, or not even real estate in general, assets in general. You can always restructure things to move things around to change up your portfolio and do that, right? So, my strategy always a long time ago was to buy pre-construction to get into the market at an affordable pace, right? Because most of these projects, you're looking anywhere from, 5%. Now that everything's getting so expensive, like developers are having more extended deposit structures.
Yes.
So instead of the 5% payments, you're doing a 2.5% payments.
Yeah.
So I just recently did a TikTok or whatever it was, reel, where I gave an example of a $650,000 condo.
Yeah.
Right. That payment at 2.5% works out to $13,000, 13 and change per year. So if you can afford to save, the first year is going to be a little bit more. It's going to be like 10%. Then after that, it's going to be the 2.5% every single year until occupancy.
Right. Yes.
Right. So that's an affordable way to build up your assets in the first place. So I did 1 year, I went nuts and I bought 4 pre-construction condos, and now I'm paying for it now because it's closing. Right.
Yeah.
But like when you do that, you're basically just kind of placing your bets slowly.
Yeah.
Right. And saving, and it gives you good discipline to live frugally because you're forced savings to get that. Now, once you have a portfolio of 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 condos, then you can start changing them to freehold properties.
Yep.
It's kind of like really playing real life Monopoly, right? Right? Because you're
building houses and then you're eventually getting into hotels. Yeah.
Eventually you start buying multiplexes, and multiplexes, you go to commercial, you can go wherever you want from there, right? And even you can liquidate everything and just live off of the net worth and the cash and just put it into a relatively liquid or safe investment, diversified investment, like any kind of index fund or something.
Right.
Right. That's what those billionaires do. They invest in index funds, right? Because honestly, why take on that risk, right?
Yeah.
If they're just taking a government debt at 5% or wherever it is, right? Like right now it's 5%, so it's pretty good. If you put 100 million into something, if you get 5% of that, that's pretty damn good. That's
5 million.
5 million, 50 million a year. No, 5 million. 5 million a year.
5 million. Yeah.
At 5%.
Yeah. So basically, you just leverage the small things first, and then eventually build out your portfolio. So, I mean, it's a good way of saying that the studio apartments, while they are a little bit more expensive to buy per square foot, that's a great way to start.
It's a good stepping stone.
It's a good stepping stone.
And it's a good first rung on the ladder, the property ladder.
Yeah.
But my advice from a long time ago when I was working a day job and my income was fixed, I had some good advice from an older person, a coworker. And she basically told me just to stretch yourself a little bit and get that slightly bigger unit. Because you won't regret it in 4 years.
Yeah.
When you're actually living in it or renting it out.
Right.
So if you're faced with that decision, not to like really go over leverage and put yourself into a tough position, but just step it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you're young, you have the earning capacity and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of makes sense to push.
Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons for each different type of housing type, whether it's small, whether it's big. But it sounds like generally you want to use all that to get to the larger units to keep scaling up.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how much of your portfolio is invested into real estate. You know, I'm not saying go as risky as me and just kind of go 100% into real estate.
Right. For anyone who is thinking about being a landlord.
Yeah, if you're looking at if an investment property is in your portfolio, in your horizon, and you're faced with a decision between a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, like there's a lot of reasons why you'd pick either one.
Right.
It really depends on what you want. But I'd say 2 bedrooms gives you a lot more flexibility than a 1-bedroom would, if you can afford it.
For sure.
Right. So say you have a child that's going to school, going to university or something, and they need a place to live and they don't want to live at home with you in the suburbs, right? No, honestly.
Yeah.
They can always give them that 2-bedroom in the future, right? They live in 1 bedroom and have a roommate pay for all or majority of the cost of it because say it's paid off, right?
For sure.
And they're paying just property taxes and maintenance now.
Yeah.
So if you had rented out the room to a friend of theirs, does that make sense instead of giving them that luxury 1-bedroom?
Yeah, for sure. And it teaches them how to actually share with other people and teach them some real life skills like cleaning up after themselves and a roommate.
Yeah. Yeah. And living with other people and all that, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think, personally think that 2 bedrooms are a little bit better than 1 bedrooms. Yeah. Now, 1 bedrooms are a little more liquid, I would say, because if you need to sell something, like it's easier to sell a $700,000 condo.
Definitely. Instead
of a $1.2 million 2-bedroom.
Definitely. Like a 2-bedroom condo right now will sell, but it takes much more effort.
A little more
You
time.
have to find the right buyer. Yeah. Whereas a 1-bedroom, there's always someone looking for something like that. There's always someone looking for their starter home.
That being said, I was actually working with a luxury buyer who was looking at one of the hotel buildings, and it was a $1.5 million 1-bedroom.
Oh.
But you can't even find anything, surprisingly. I mean, there's 2 of them right now, but like, we're trying to go for 1, 3, 1, 4. But like it was, it's actually pretty hard to find them. You know, the luxury market as well too.
Yeah. But the luxury market, I feel like the private residences like to build a lot of larger units.
Right.
They tend to start at around 2 bedrooms, 2+1s. Some
Well,
even
a lot
go
of it's
to
only
3.
used for part-time if you're here from overseas and you're only here, you know, just when you're in Toronto.
Yeah.
So I think there's a market for luxury as well too.
There is. Definitely.
Super big luxury. It's just a smaller market because how many people can actually do that?
Yeah. And there's only a limited number of buildings in Toronto that actually are catered to that crowd anyway.
Right.
To that industry.
Right. So yeah, let's ask you, like you're looking for investment property eventually. And why multiplex over a condo?
Well, because we have the down payment for it now.
Okay.
So I'm just going to dive right in.
Okay. So
Instead
you
of
just skip that level and just go straight to the hotel instead of getting the small
exactly
little house.
make myself a little bit uncomfortable by jumping up in there as high as I can.
Okay. And then with a multiplex, you have potentially a triplex, duplex. What are you looking for? Fourplex?
Triplex.
Triplex.
Yeah.
Okay. So at least you have 3 units to cover the cost of
the whole thing.
The whole thing, right? So that's kind of the same principle I was talking about with a 2-bedroom condo downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you increase it just marginally, the rent, it'll make a big impact overall.
Yeah.
So if you have 3 units and you're increasing it marginally, then you're going to get a bigger win overall, like for the amount of rent.
Oh, for sure.
Times 3, right?
And if I have 1 vacancy, I have 2 other units to cover it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So with multiplexes, you charge a little bit under what condos are going for,
yes.
the luxury condos for.
Absolutely.
And now you have an audience, right? Because you're getting more square footage for a little bit of rent, a little less rent. So it's easy to kind of lease out.
You don't have the amenities, but you have the free space in the back because it's
or just
freehold.
charge less, you know?
Or charge less, yeah.
Right? And then you have the freehold property.
Yeah.
But again, to get into a triplex, what do those run for? Like $2 million?
In the area that we're looking at, about 1.5.
1.5?
Yeah. But need some work. Probably 1.7 for something turnkey.
Right. Because then you don't want a lot of headaches either. You want a newer build.
Exactly.
Right.
Something that has running water, plumbing, electric. You don't have to deal with any of those headaches right away.
No asbestos, no like all that kind of crap.
Yeah, cockroaches, mice, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, all that good Toronto stuff with 100-year-old homes.
So with a condo, as another devil's advocate, I did a podcast with Donnie Mangles a long time ago, triplexes versus condos. Anyway, with condos, you get commercial grade equipment. You get commercial grade roofs, commercial grade elevators.
Windows.
You wouldn't need an elevator. Yeah, but windows, the curtain wall system.
Yeah.
You get balconies, you get amenities, you get concierge,
Fireproof doors.
You get all that stuff.
Fire extinguishing, all that stuff.
That's right. And then you get a garbage room, like garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Right? All that. And location. You get a better location.
Yes.
But you and the tenant that's renting it will be paying a premium for it.
Yes.
Versus a triplex that's a little further away.
Yeah.
Generally, we'll be older. We'll have residential components, like, you know, the cheap windows from Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It won't be like super high grade stuff.
Yeah.
And
hopefully not an entire house that's being painted by their own landlord.
Right. Right.
Covered all the slapping paint on the switches and everything.
Yeah. It's a running joke with slumlords. Just paint it over the problems. No, but like there's benefits of having a triplex, freehold property, that is.
Yeah.
Because you can now all of a sudden convert it back to a single family if you ever wanted to in the future.
Yes.
You can treat it as part of an assembly if you're in a busy street. That's not a bad thing too.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of options that you can have. So,
well, nowadays you can even tear down the whole thing and try building more, laneway houses.
more density.
More density.
Well, there you go. There you go.
You have
can
more options.
You can force the value, force the appreciation based on improving the place.
Absolutely.
But again, it starts with having the assets and the equity to be able to purchase something larger, because it is going to cost you more than a regular condo would.
It is. Yeah. You'd have to have more down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was fun exploring all the differences and nuances of investing into real estate.
Yeah.
Any other topics, questions, thoughts?
Well, now we got to start calling our past clients and see if they're open to opportunities.
Yes, if you're open to an opportunity, if you're a past client or a new client, obviously you can reach out to us and we can discuss more. We can talk about all the nuances of large or small units and types of investments out there.
Yeah. Provide honest advice.
Thanks for watching.
Add it up.
Thanks for sticking out to the very end. I hope you got some value out of this. Do me a favor, please press like and subscribe. But more than anything, leave me some feedback so we know what to produce for you going forward. Thanks again.